This is Newsmax TV. I'm Ashley Martella. Big victory for Virginia Attorney General Ken Cuccinelli. Virginia federal judge Henry Hudson rules that the forced insurance purchase known as the individual mandate under the Democrats' health care law is unconstitutional and cannot be justified under the Commerce Clause. To discuss what this all means, we have with us on the phone Newsmax contributor Betsy McCaughey, a former New York lieutenant governor. She's a health policy expert, a patient advocate, and a constitutional historian. Nice to have you with us again, Betsy.
Well, thank you, especially on this very, very important day. And I would say that Henry Hudson's ruling that Congress can't compel Americans to buy health insurance ought to be required reading for every member of Congress. After all, members of Congress take an oath to uphold the U.S. Constitution, but most members are shockingly ignorant of what that document says, and they routinely enact laws without giving the Constitution a moment's thought.
Judge Hudson's ruling was just on the individual mandate and didn't address other portions of the law, nor did he issue an injunction against it. So what is the significance and effect of it?
Well, first of all, there will be a lengthy appeals process with a final decision by the U.S. Supreme Court sometime before the 2012 presidential election, probably in June of 2012. And you're correct that he didn't declare the entire law unconstitutional. Virginia did not challenge the entire law, only Section 1501, the minimal essential coverage provision. But nevertheless, many states will probably delay implementing Obamacare, delay spending billions of dollars creating insurance exchanges and making other costly preparations for a law that may never be implemented. Obamacare is in legal limbo.
In several previous interviews with Newsmax, you were steadfast in insisting the forced purchase of health insurance was unconstitutional. Now at least one federal judge agrees with you, but what about the other two in separate lawsuits in Michigan and Virginia that sided with Obama on the individual mandate?
Those lawsuits were not brought by states. They were much less important lawsuits. The next really important decision will be made in a federal district court in Florida, probably before January 1st. 20 other states have also challenged portions of Obamacare, specifically the individual mandate and a section on Medicaid. And it's very likely that Judge Roger Vinson in Florida will also make a decision that mandatory health insurance is unconstitutional.
Okay, that judge you're referring to in Pensacola, Florida. Florida, of course, leading 20 states in challenging. How important is that challenge?
Well, this is real firepower. 42% of all the states in the United States are challenging the constitutionality of this law. This is not mere partisan politics. In Virginia, for example, the Virginia legislature passed a law of its own saying that nothing could compel people in the state of Virginia to buy health insurance. That law was passed with strong support from Democrats in Virginia, not just Republicans, because there's a fundamental principle at stake. If the federal government can require you to buy insurance, it can force you to do literally anything. This is not about health insurance. This is about freedom.
The individual mandate doesn't take effect until 2014, and some observers say courts won't be in any rush to issue injunctions as a result. Do you see that as problematic?
No, I don't see it as problematic at all, but sensible state officials will nevertheless slow down efforts to implement these state insurance exchanges and spend a lot of money putting a law into effect that may never go into effect because the U.S. Supreme Court declares it unconstitutional.
House Republicans say they intend to defund parts of Obamacare, as some are calling for hearings into how the legislation was crafted. The incoming GOP leadership is expressing a willingness to do that. Is that a good way to approach this, and if so, why?
Absolutely, because and Ken Cuccinelli, in his argument before the court, raised this issue. This law was passed in a suspect way. Members of Congress ignored the few warnings they got that it was unconstitutional. It was passed in the dead of night on Christmas Eve. Very few people read it. There were a lot of venal deals slipped into it in order to get sufficient votes for it. This is not a model for how legislation should be enacted.
And again, when do you expect this to wind up before the U.S. Supreme Court? When will opening arguments begin?
It will be taken up by the U.S. Supreme Court in 2012 with a decision probably in June.
Before the next presidential election?
That's right.
Former New York Lieutenant Governor Betsy McCaughey, thanks so much as always for speaking with us here at Newsmax.
You're quite welcome. Bye-bye.
And thank you for watching Newsmax TV.